She's now bragging about the success of Snow White, which is a movie that's going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars, and mainly because of her and because nobody wanted to support her.
For every one of the 18 hours I am in the Snow White dress, I expect to get paid. If it's 18 hours, I want 18 hours of pay. I'm sure she got underpaid as a Disney lead actress.
All right, when the words RachelZegler meltdown and Snow White fiasco popped up across social media, audiences had no idea how big this story would get. Fans expected a classic Disney remake with a new twist, but instead they found themselves in the middle of a storm. From Twitter threads dissecting every quote to YouTube commentators criticizing every casting choice, it's been a wild ride.
There are empty theaters all around the country. We are now at a 1 out of 10 on IMDb for the new Snow White, and it couldn't happen to a better person.
The turbulence only got worse as rumors started swirling that Disney was pulling newly minted Snow White merchandise from shelves. Was it because of low sales, backlash, or something deeper and more dramatic?
Yeah, we had more dwarfs than we did viewers in most of these theaters. And as you know, there were no dwarfs other than some CGI weird generated version of them.
Right now, the internet is ablaze with conspiracy theories and insider leaks, each trying to piece together how a film that seemed destined for success took a headlong plunge into scandal.
Don't alienate half of the country when you're putting out a product meant to appeal to all. It's the Michael Jordan Republicans buy sneakers too.
RachelZegler herself has become a lightning rod for debate, praised by some for her outspoken advocacy and pilloried by others who believe her remarks have done more harm than good. And let's be real. Whenever Disney is forced to address swirling rumors about one of its biggest properties, you know there's a major story at play. Fans once expected Snow White 2025 to be a shining beacon in Disney's live-action lineup. After all, the House of Mouse has banked on popular remakes like The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast to rake in big profits.
People have real problems and no one gives a shit if she got paid for 17 instead of 18 on her multi-million-dollar salary, which is not calculated by the hour.
So when people got their first glimpse of this new Snow White, they were curious and hopeful. But that optimism didn't last long. Early chatter on social media hinted at something off. Leaked set photos, rumored rewrites, and the controversial decision to drastically alter the traditional love story. Disney was caught in the crossfire when promotional images painted a wildly different Snow White world, one that critics claimed strayed too far from the beloved original.
Her heroine cannot be in love or be saved by a man, the prince, that she's more focused on becoming the leader she was meant to be, as if women in modern day America must make that choice.
On top of that, industry insiders whispered that the budget had soared beyond reasonable limits and that repeated reshoots were making the movie look patchy and out of sync. The so-called dream project was slowly morphing into a cautionary tale, and all eyes turned to see how Disney would manage the fallout. RachelZegler stepped into the iconic role of Snow White with massive fanfare. After her acclaimed breakout performance in other musicals, many expected her to slide effortlessly into Disney royalty.
Be a leader as a female and fall in love and be rescued by a prince, like that's incongruous bullshit. That's only the left's version of what it means to be a strong woman or female empowerment.
Yet the public conversation quickly shifted from her vocal talent to her interviews and social media commentary. Some praised her passion for women's empowerment, applauding her stance on updating fairy tale tropes. Others, however, found her remarks condescending, arguing that she derided the classic story and alienated a large portion of Disney's fan base.
So, I mean, this woman has clicked every box. And just for cherry on top at the end, she gave an interview last week talking about how they were basically a bunch of white supremacists on the set of West Side Story.
In one viral clip, Zegler discussed why Snow White doesn't need a prince to save her, doubling down on how the character's journey should emphasize leadership over romance. For many progressive viewers, that sounded like a breath of fresh air. But for traditionalists who hold the original story dear, it felt like an attack on what made Snow White timeless. Then came her offhand remarks about fair pay, production hours, and perceived biases on set. Topics that, fair or not, often put celebrities in hot water.
Where Steven Spielberg and co. were demanding that she prove how Latina she really is, since her name doesn't sound Latina, and she was angrily saying, did I have to bring in my little abuelita for you to believe that I was
The stage was set for controversy, and RachelZegler's every word only stoked the flames further. It's a well-known pattern. A new Disney film hits theaters, and shelves everywhere become packed with related merchandise. From plush dolls to lunchboxes, fans get to bring home a piece of the magic.
That's her thanks to Steven Spielberg, who discovered her and made her. So she's an ingrate, she's annoying, and I think she's probably 2 and done.
However, for this new Snow White release, rumor has it the merchandise is being quietly phased out. Some talk of entire lines never making it to major retailers. Others claim that products are stuck in warehouses, overshadowed by negative press about the film. Such a move is practically unheard of for Disney, a company that usually maximizes merchandising opportunities. So the question arises, is the merch removal directly tied to Zegler's controversial comments and the ensuing public backlash, or is it a purely financial decision due to dismal pre-orders? Regardless of the motive, the merchandise fiasco has become a metaphor for the entire production. Once lucrative plans have turned into cautious backpedaling. Beyond public perception, insiders say the movie itself struggled long before the controversies erupted. The director reportedly went through multiple rewrites to accommodate a modernized vision of Snow White's world. While updating a classic isn't inherently a bad idea, trouble arises when the core story gets lost in a tangle of new messaging. As the rewrites piled up, so did the production costs, ballooning the budget well over $250 million, even higher if rumors about last-minute sequences are true. Reshoots can save a film when applied sparingly and strategically, but insiders claim there were multiple rounds of them, each attempting to fix perceived structural issues. That left the final version feeling cobbled together with abrupt tonal shifts and scenes that didn't quite mesh. Audiences expecting classic Disney enchantment found themselves disoriented by a storyline that seemed to forget what made the original Snow White so enchanting. And when word of that creative confusion hit the public, it only fueled the online chatter that something was seriously amiss. Snow White fans have always been passionate. The original 1937 film marked a watershed moment in animation history, setting the stage for all the princess tales that followed. This new version was meant to bring that magic into the modern day. But for many longtime admirers, it felt like an extreme departure. Some viewers liked the idea of Snow White standing on her own 2 feet, but they still wanted the romance to remain an essential part of the fairy tale. Social media erupted with memes, critical posts, and in-depth video commentaries dissecting each new detail. People debated whether the story deserved a radical overhaul in the name of progress, or if that progress had crossed the line into disrespect for the classic. In a twist that few saw coming, even Disney loyalists who traditionally root for every new release started voicing their doubts. Comment sections filled with disappointment instead of delight, leading to a broader discussion of how far is too far when updating nostalgic stories. As the controversies multiplied, the term meltdown began circulating around RachelZegler. Some labeled her interviews and social media statements as a downfall in real time, accusing her of arrogance, entitlement, or simply being out of touch with the broader Disney audience. Others defended her, suggesting she was bravely pushing for a more forward-thinking portrayal and was merely misunderstood. For Zegler, the past few months have been a public relations tightrope. She insisted that her main goal was to champion female empowerment. Yet in the court of public opinion, it's sometimes translated as if she was ridiculing the very legacy of Snow White. Media outlets, hungry for attention-grabbing headlines, played up every quote and reaction, fueling speculation that she was on a collision course with Disney itself. The meltdown label might be sensationalistic, but it underscores the collective sentiment that everything about this film has gone off the rails, and Zegler's outspokenness is a major part of the story. Disney CEO Bob Iger has found himself under fire, with critics questioning how this production was allowed to spiral so spectacularly. The brand that once seemed bulletproof has seen other recent stumbles, but Snow White stands out as a potential financial disaster that might overshadow its live-action predecessors. Supporters of the new approach say the company was attempting to evolve with the times by making its classic princess more relevant. Skeptics argue that they alienated the core audience without winning over new fans. For Iger, the challenges extend beyond this single film. He faces shareholders who are alarmed by ballooning budgets and repeated creative misfires. The broader Disney strategy of remaking animated hits for easy box office success suddenly looks shaky when faced with a vocal, dissatisfied audience. If leadership hoped that cutting back on marketing would keep the losses contained, they're now learning that negative word of mouth can reverberate even louder when fans feel the studio isn't proud enough to stand by its product. Beyond RachelZegler's immediate career and Disney's short-term merchandising losses, the Snow White saga has cast a long shadow on future endeavors. Other prospective live-action remakes will likely undergo far tighter oversight, with more cautious budgets and more research into fan sentiment. When an expensive project flops this spectacular, board members and big investors demand accountability and a shift in approach. The fiasco also highlights a deeper cultural debate. Can beloved classics be updated without compromising their essence? And is it possible to push progressive themes in a way that resonates authentically rather than feeling forced or tokenistic? For many, the frustration isn't about dismissing empowerment or modernization, but rather about seeing them executed poorly. This conversation won't fade anytime soon, as Disney needs to reclaim public trust and prove that it can adapt timeless stories in a way that pleases both new viewers and loyal traditionalists. As the dust settles, fans, critics, and industry insiders are left wondering, how will Disney respond? Will they attempt a revised cut for streaming platforms, hoping to salvage something from the ashes? Will they quietly move on, praying that the next big production overshadows this controversy? In an age where social media gives fans a direct voice, ignoring public sentiment is no longer an option. They have to address the disappointment, either through transparent explanations or through behind-the-scenes reforms that restore the old Disney magic. RachelZegler, meanwhile, stands at a crossroads. This was supposed to be her grand coronation into the pantheon of Disney icons, and it's instead become a cautionary tale of how quickly public perception can shift. If she can align her message with the audience's hopes, she might yet stage a comeback. If not, her association with Snow White's controversies could haunt her trajectory. Only time will tell if this fiasco becomes a transformative lesson or remains a permanent blot on Disney's record. One thing is certain, audiences worldwide are watching, waiting, and loudly voicing their opinions. No magic mirror needed.